Hey, what's up guys? Skull's Nightshade here. PSO2 NGS is awesome, but the menu can be a bit confusing for new players because it's very different than most MMORPGs. In this video, I'm going to show you guys some helpful settings that can very easily be missed in PSO2. This video is really good for both new players and people who have been playing for a very long time. All right. So the first thing we're going to take a look at is the launcher. Everything in the launcher is PC only. Everything else in this tutorial is going to be for both console and PC users. Here we have environmental settings. Here you can set the game into windowed mode, which is just traditional windowed with the border at the top, virtual full screen mode, which is borderless windowed, and full screen mode. So the first thing we're going to look at is the monitor selection. Here you can choose which monitor you want the game to show up on, or you can just have it select your main display. Personally, I have issues sometimes where my computer registers my monitor as like my first monitor is monitor 2, or it swaps them all around. So I don't keep this setting. But if you're noticing it's opening up in the wrong window, you want to take a look here, identify which monitor, and then set it to that. Here you can change the screen size. Just make sure it's in dimensions that's native to your PC. Sometimes you'll run into issues with running the game in windowed mode and virtual full screen if you don't have the right settings. Here is the tab where you can change the sound settings before getting into the game. I definitely advise keeping them a little low. You may want them a little louder than mine. I listen to music and stuff in the background, but the game is pretty loud, especially the sound effects, so you might want to turn those down a bit. And then here you can test your connection. The gamepad settings, you can enable your controller to press the buttons in the game even when you're tabbed out. So you're using a different window, and you can import your settings here and you can export them. Make sure you save your settings. And of course, we start the game. Once you get the game started up, there's a few things on these first menus. Here is where you can change the window and text size. It's pretty self-explanatory. These little windows and boxes here change to be a little larger. I only recommend that if you're playing on a really big screen because they do take up a lot of the screen. This is where you change your language. You can go between English and Japanese. This is where you choose your ship, and ships are basically servers. Most of us reference them by the number. If you're a new player, make sure you choose a ship that you like or a ship that you have friends on, because you can't do content cross-ship as of right now, other than in base game. So in this menu, there's a few things here: character creation and selection. The support menu has quite a few things, and we're not here super often, but it is really useful. So if you want to change settings before you get into the game, this is a more detailed way to do this than the launcher. And of course, those of you on console will be able to do it this way instead, since you don't have the launcher. I'm assuming. I don't play on console, but I just assume you don't have the launcher. Here is where you can change your controller settings. Let's start with control display type. So if you're a controller user and you're on console, you should be fine. It should show you the right symbols, but just in case it doesn't, you can swap them here. And if you're on PC, this helps too, because it's going to default to keyboard and mouse. And I use an Xbox controller with a keyboard attachment, so I set it to display that. You can change your control and vibration settings here, and everything else is pretty self-explanatory, your keybinds, all that good stuff. So here you can set what your primary control device is. So if you're using a controller, I advise setting it to controller because it's easier to do normal functions in the game. Also, like moving the camera with the controller as well is a little nicer. If you use keyboard and mouse, you want it set to keyboard and mouse. So we're gonna go back to this page and go back to the support menu. Here you have the online manual. You also have the privacy policy you can take a look at. Here you can change your player ID name. So if you are new to the game or you've never changed your player ID and you don't want it to be PN with a series of numbers, you can change this for free once. And this is bound to your entire account. This is not your character name, but this is the ID you go under. Down here you have your settings, so you can delete your character, which that's pretty obvious. You have your application for ship transfer, so if you want to move to a different ship, you made some friends, let's say on ship 1, but you play on ship 3, then you can do this. However, it does cost AC. It takes 700 AC to complete this. The change won't take place until the next maintenance, so just keep that in mind as well. And then here you can change your character name. That costs 1500 AC. So again, if you have the option to make a new character, I would advise doing that. Now let's go ahead and start the game. I'm going to jump ahead just a little bit, but normally when I record videos, I keep it in streamer mode. I don't normally advise this for streaming personally because it blocks people from chatting with you. So let's start with the main menu. You can get there by pressing escape, or you can press the menu button on your gamepad. So at the top left, you have the mini map. If you're in a party with people, instead of the white dots, you'll see them as different colored dots. You have the time of day here. Here you have the block that you're currently on. I am on 𝓤𝓼2 and I am in Central City. So it shows you the location here. Here's where you can find your battle power or BP. You can see the level of your main and subclass. If you have premium, you can see how much time you have left on your premium. If you've purchased any AC or ARX cash, you can see that here. Any SG you have on your account, you can see here. All of the Meseta you have in your inventory shows up here, and it'll show the current mission pass. The G is for if you have the mission pass gold, and it'll show your tier in the mission pass. This at the bottom normally isn't there, but we currently have an event. So when an event is up, you can see what the event is, and you can see how many seasonal points you have. Now let's get out of the menu for a second and talk about blocks. This is something that a lot of new players have trouble finding. So if you want to change what block you're on, you go to where it says block transfer. And here you can go into base PSO2 if you'd like. It does take a little while to load. If you crash doing that, a tip is just to restart the game and go directly into base PSO2 instead of transferring. These are going to be the beginner blocks. A tip about the beginner blocks is the matchmaking is restricted. So if you are in a beginner block, you can't matchmake with anyone who's not in one. I'm currently in 𝓤𝓼2. I could transfer to 𝓤𝓼3 from here. And it brings me right back in the city, but now you can see I'm on block 3. If I wanted to change regions, I could choose a block in a different region. However, you don't have access to these blocks unless you have that region unlocked. So let's say I wanted to go to Stia. I could just select Stia 1. And as you can see now, it takes you to the main city of that region. And I am in Stia 1 at Stia Camp. I know we jumped straight into blocks, but I'm going to go into this menu a little bit further. You can open your storage here, which honestly, you can open your storage anywhere by going to your inventory. You can make food here, so you don't have to go to the food stand. The only food stand is in 𝓤𝓼 currently in Central City, but you can go to any Ryuker and eat as long as enemies are not nearby. The room transfer menu shows you all of the active rooms in that region. From here, you can teleport directly into a room. There will be little symbols for if people are in your alliance or are friends with you. So I'm gonna go to Nuisance Plant. When selecting a room, some of them have little arrows, and that means it's in a different block. Once you click it, you can see what block it's going to take you to. The rooms without an arrow are in the same block, so you don't have to worry about switching. You'll just be in a different room. Here's where you can set up password rooms. So let's say you want a room with just you and your friends. You can put a password. I'll put skulls as my password. You can just keep it hidden there. Here is where you can choose the max amount of people to be in the room. So let's say if you wanted this room to be 4 people instead of 8, you can choose that there. You can disable assist NPCs. So you'll see them around when you're doing combat zones. You can see them kind of spamming in the party chat, but those are the NPCs that help you and kind of fill the room. Or you can make it a photo room. Since we're already in a photo room, let's go over that very quickly. The way a photo room works is you can be in the same room, but it doesn't spawn any enemies. Since I set the password and the photo room earlier, I'm still in the same room. You can change the type of weather, and then you can also change the time of day. Sorry about the flashbang. So if you want it clear, but you want it at night, you can change it to nighttime. If you don't want your room to be a photo room anymore, go back to those room and keyword settings, go ahead and press reset. And see, I have things like minerals spawning. There's probably some enemies around here somewhere. Now let's take a look at the gear and sub-palette tab. Of course, this is pretty self-explanatory. You have your weapons, your armor. You can change what mag you use, and if you see it, if you have music, you can play music from here. You can customize looks, which I use this menu a lot, as you would assume. You can change your weapon camos here, and it'll use camos that you currently have in your inventory. And you can adjust the sheath position of your weapon. So if I absolutely hate this being in the middle of my back, I can move this around. You can see information about your character here. So your title is right here. Your player ID info is here. Your character info is right here. Class info here. All of your stats are down here. Over here, you can see your buffs. You can see the total bonus buffs you have at the top. And here breaks down everything you have. I currently don't have a lot of buffs. I literally logged in and started making this video. So I don't have a lot going on other than my add-on skill buffs. But if you use like experience boosts or try boosts, or you eat food and use the region mag, then you can find your buffs there. And then here's your look breakdown. So it shows everything that you have on. So if someone asks like what hair you have, or they ask you what accessory you're wearing, you can see that here. Here shows all of the titles that you have, and you can see titles that you need to get here and the information on them. Here's your ARCS ID. You probably want to get this set up. It's a really cool feature. You can put information about yourself here. It shows your player ID and your character. Here is your lookbook. You can register looks. You can set up what category they're in, any tags you want to add, and information here. You can also choose what emote you want to use in here. And your facial expression. This also gives you access to your look breakdown. System menus, pretty chill. I've shown you guys some of those settings already. Here is where you get campaign items, so keep an eye on this. Anytime we get items in the game by using either a key or they were just given to us by NGS, they'll pop up here. Item codes, if you have any item codes. If you have auto sell, you can change the auto sell settings here. Host edit skulls here. So something really important on this menu that I didn't show you was the help tab. When you start the game, you get a lot of information dumped at you. It's very easy to forget things like that. So you can always look at those slides again here for everything that you've learned so far in the game. Honestly, most people don't know that this tab even exists, and there's so much useful information here. You have your communications tab. Not really a whole lot on here that I need to show you. You can pretty much go through that yourself. But if you want to search for players, you can search for your friends here. You can do character name, which is probably the hardest way to search if your friends have a common name. So I advise doing player ID. Have your friend give you their player ID and you can search for it here. If you know an alliance is recruiting and you want to look them up, like let's say you wanted to look up the Afterlife and join us, you could look that up here. So you can see all of your alliance info here as well. Here you have chat shortcuts. If you want to hotkey anything, you can put them here, and you can save a couple of different ones. So if you want something that's maybe common chat, so you can say like hi, or you want to set up emotes and have like dances and stuff like that like I do, you can do that there. Here's where it shows all of your group chat. So if you're a part of a group chat or you want to create a group chat, you can do that here. Here are auto chat settings. I made an entire video about this, so if you want to know more about auto chats, then you can check out that video in the description. Victory performance settings. So after we do certain quests, they kind of do like a thing where everyone poses together. Here you can choose the pose and the facial expression you want to use. You have stamps and symbol art here, but I'll show you guys a quicker way to get to that. And of course you have your shop. So here's where you can buy AC and SG, and you can use that on like packs and stuff like that. Make sure you guys don't forget to do your daily free scratch. That gives you a free item. Item recycle is here, but you can also find the item recycle from the item trader in the town. So I'm not going to go over that too much. You have the treasure shop here. So this is the one where you can buy items with 𝓦𝓪𝓽𝓬𝓱𝓲𝓷𝓰. You get 1 free refresh a day. So let's say you bought out everything you wanted here, or you're looking for something in particular. You can go ahead and refresh that. If you're premium, you get an extra refresh, and refreshes after cost SG. Here is the SG treasure shop. Here you can find a lot of boosts. So they have a rare drop rate up for 24 hours. They have a try boost. I grab a couple of these every day because try boosts are really, really helpful. They give you experience, rare drop rate, and 𝓦𝓪𝓽𝓬𝓱𝓲𝓷𝓰. I'm only going to cover like 1 or 2 things in here. So screenshots. You can change the way the file is saved. You can also choose whether or not you see the UI in your screenshots. So if you want to see everything, like the box, all this stuff on there, you can choose that. Balloons only, so like the chat bubbles and things like that, you can choose that. Or if you want to see nothing, so you can take a screenshot, like so. and see nothing, set that to hide. Also, let's go to sound chat settings. You have the global focus sound. So if you want to hear the game sounds when you tab out of the game, you don't want it just to go silent, make sure you turn this on. Also, direct chat usage. So if you're using a controller, I'm sure it's not that big of an issue on console, but if you're on PC and you're using a controller, I advise keeping this off, because when I need to type or anything like that, I'll use my keyboard and mouse. And as soon as you start typing letters and numbers, it automatically puts it in the chat box, and you don't want that. And then here you have auto chats. I made an entire video about auto chats, and I'm sorry I keep referring you guys to videos, but if I went over everything right now, we would be here for like 3 hours. On the subject of the chat box, here you can change who you're talking to in chat. So you can change this to party chat, alliance chat, whisper if you have the person you're whispering to here, and group chat. If you only want to see messages from one type of chat, you only want to see your alliance messages and things like that, or you only want to see like your group chat, you can put that here. So here you can choose what type of balloons you want to do when you talk. So as an example, you can choose emphasis /toge, and then you can say something like hi. You don't have to go through that menu. If you want to just type the chat command instead, that works too. And I will leave a link to a bunch of chat commands you guys can check out in the description. You can do the manga expression. So if you want the chat box to have like certain expressions when you talk, this box is for cut-ins. So you can choose like what kind of cut-in you want. Here is where you can choose emotes. There is another way to get to emotes, but if you don't know, you can go this way. Here shows all your stamps. And you can tell by this little indicator right here which chat you sent it to. If you don't see anything, it's area chat. Here you have symbol arts. And then you have the continuous input button, which changes the cutoff for your chat. If you want to only see your chat box when you're actively using it, you can press this little display mode button and turn it off. It still shows up when you press enter, but you don't see it all the time. And just press that button again to put it back on the screen. Something that a lot of people don't know is that you can get rid of your palette and subpalette down here by pressing T on the keyboard. I'm unsure of what it is on the gamepad, but you can look in the controller settings and keybinds to see what it's set to. Keep in mind you cannot do combat without your palette out, but it's really nice if you're just hanging out in the city and you want to have a good view of what's going on. If you want to check the characters nearby, you can always go to the communication menu and check nearby characters. It'll show you a list of the characters here. It'll also have symbols if some of those people are on your friends list or in your alliance. From here, you can select the character and you have the option to whisper, invite to party, all of these social commands. You can view the character info, look at their look breakdown, their ARCS ID. You can impersonate them. So if someone is using an emote that you also own, you can just click them and that will sync up the emote usage. So if you're dancing together, it'll sync up the dance. So as an example, I'm going to impersonate them. Since I own this dance, it'll sync up, and now we're doing the same dance at the same time. Reaction, if someone's using an emote that triggers a reaction, you can press this to make that happen. You can check out their lookbook. You can report and block people here. You can also access the same menu by clicking on a player. If someone is using an emote that you don't own and you want to know what it is, you can always select them, press impersonate. Down here, you'll get a message saying you can't use the emote, and it'll tell you the name of the emote. You can use your mag to find items on the map. So if you're looking for something in particular, go to the mag menu, active sonar settings, and here you can toggle on what you want the mag to search for. And as you can see, it'll show you which direction to go to find some of those things. There's Thames Meet right in front of me. That was one of the things I selected. Now the last thing is the quick menu. On keyboard and mouse, it's the end button. On the controller, it's going to be your select button. If you want, you can customize your quick menu, customize layout. You can go to edit. And I think that is it for our guide. Whew, I know it was a long one, so thank you guys so much for bearing with me. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. And if you have any helpful tips for new players, feel free to leave those in the comments as well. And I hope everyone stays comfy out there.